Thank you again for the questions. As you and I discussed earlier today, you do raise good questions and we take them seriously. What you're referring to is what the city calls the partnership compensation model. That model was brought to the city by our new city manager who came from the city of Alameda about 15 months ago and implemented that model in Alameda. It was brought to the city at that time, about 15 months ago. And what that model does, it basically ties salary increases to the performance of the city's revenues. It's the best way to compensate our employees. So when the city does well, they do well. When the city doesn't do well, they do not do well. It is also a way for the employees to contribute to the health of the city's finances. So the concept makes a lot of sense. It is a much better concept than your traditional compensation model where you give out raises of 2, 3, 4, 5% regardless of the economy. This concept makes sense. So that's the concept that we are going to implement with our labor unions, where basically their salary increases in future years are going to be tied to increases in the city's revenues. You're absolutely right, Jason, and we communicate very directly, and I communicate very directly with the council as well. If the sales tax increase through Measure Z is approved, that will be an increase in the city's revenues. We frankly were not thinking of that when this compensation model was implemented in concept 15 months ago. Because 15 months ago, there was no need for Measure Z. 15 months ago, the city thought that there was no shortfall. And all of a sudden, the shortfall became real. We had to make cuts. And we had to make a very difficult decision to place Measure Z on the ballot. Now, the only other thing that I will say is we anticipated that there could be years when the revenue increases would be so significant, and we did not want for those revenue increases to lead to significant salary increases for employees. So in this model, what we have done is we apply brackets to the salary increases. In every single year, employees are going to get some minimum pay, but at the same time, there's a maximum on the salary increase that they're going to get for every single year. For some years, the brackets are 2 to 4%. There are some years when they're 3 to 5%. In the proposed police contract, the bracket is going to be 0 to 6%. So those are all the facts.
And how are the retired people going to?
Mr. Tim Strife, and do you want to also speak?
Wait, are you saying the city is a business that makes profit and distributes dividends to its employees? Is that the model you're proposing? That sounds crazy.
Good.
They're also funding Measure Z, right, Mr. Strack?
Okay, good evening. So first, let me just introduce myself. My name is Tim Strack. I'm the president of the firefighters for about 15 years. But first, I am a citizen here at Riverside, I live in Ward 5, have for about 20 years. I will give you, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about what the MOUs look like, how we did our contract, why we do what we do. It's very open. I'm not here to try to influence anybody one way or the other. I want to be open and transparent. I have no problem with that. Yes, we are supportive of Measure Z, but not just for the reasons to go lining our pockets. That is far, far from why. And I can tell you on the first part is the fire engine I work on every day is 21 years old. Okay? So, and that is a frontline piece of equipment. And I could go on and on and on about how we really, to keep this quality of life in this city, need to get an increase in some revenue. It's not a lot of revenue. It's 30 cents on a $30 dinner. And frankly, the revenue coming from sales tax, a large portion of people from outside the city come and pay the sales tax here. and you get to benefit from it because you live here. So let me just talk about the revenue sharing part. As our assistant city manager stated, it is a bracket, there is a minimum. We actually deferred a 2.5% raise that we were scheduled to get on July 1st. That because we recognized the problem, and that was so we also wouldn't close a fire station. This ward lost the only piece of fire equipment that the city lost. We lost a paramedic squad at the station right down the street in that 4% cut. We can't get that back right now. So we took some pain in this deferral. Also, a piece of this is new employees, and if you're familiar, I don't want to get into great detail because I can explain it, but it's complicated. Anybody hired before, after 2013, pays 100% of their pension portion and a portion of the city's. Those of us who were here before 2013, at the end of this agreement, we are going to be paying our own portions of our pension voluntarily. Our members are accepting the responsibility to take on a piece of their pension. I know the police are doing the same. SCIU had already done the same. So we, as a group, during the recession, we deferred maintenance on fire trucks. We deferred buying new fire trucks because we kept the fire department staffed. However, now we're still staying staffed. We're actually taking a hit in staffing, and we need to get caught up on the stuff that needs to be fixed. We need ladder trucks. I can tell you a month ago, I worked at the downtown station. We have 4 ladder trucks in the city right now. 3 of them were down, out of service for maintenance because they're so old. They are $1 million a piece. It's not like we're going out buying Cadillacs, folks. These is the reality of what it costs to buy a 30-year piece of equipment. We don't have that chance. Our employees in the fire department, and I don't have it off the top of my head, it's been a really long day, we've gotten right around 4.5% in raises over the last 6 or 7 years. We're not getting rich, folks. My employees are actually not asking to get rich. We love serving the city. We love serving every single one of you that's sitting here. We are proud to work here. It is fair. We are not the highest paid. We're not the lowest paid, but we are able to attract some of the best candidates out there to replace those who are retiring and leaving. And you know, even though on the surface it seems this thing is tied to revenue, there's still a cap. 4% is just a little bit above CPI. 2% is about CPI, that's a consumer price index. And everybody knows we're all taking hits in our health insurance increases, we're all taking hits and everything's going up, and we understand that. And we're very sympathetic, and probably half our members live in the city. So we're gonna get affected by this also. But we're committed as an association, as members, as employees, to do what's right for the city and the citizens in the city. And I can tell you, the assistant city managers and the team, we're pretty skeptical about the truth of this financial crisis. I think my friends here we went round and round. And so did the council, right? But I mean, I directly deal with them on this. And after many, many hours of looking at the numbers and digging deep and looking at the future prospects, this is a tough pill to swallow. But I think, in our opinion, for the people who serve you, we are hired to serve you, to make sure you're safe, make sure you can live in a great place. This is a very small piece, and there are a lot of ways that it can be sliced up. I can tell you, as the leader of the association, I listened and there were some comments about how are we going to guarantee that money's spent right. We will be making sure that money is spent right. We will be working hard as we can to make sure. So I'll be around. I don't want to take up any more time. Well, Brian, yeah, Brian.
Go get a cat out of the tree or something. So, my name is Brian Smith. I'm the president of the Riverside Police Officers Association. I've been a resident in the city for 17 years, employed by the city for the last 20, and I'm a sergeant with the department as well. So when we got into this vote to help bailing out water for the city's finances, and mind you, this is 2 contracts ago for us. It doesn't just start now, it happened previously. In 2006, at the height of the department staffing, we had 403 police officers in this city, and that lasted for exactly 31 days. 403 officers, 31 days. Currently, our staffing runs a little over 358 to 363 on any given day. And that's from the chief of police to the newest policeman that's in training right now. This city is 100 square miles. It's 375,000 residents if you believe the sign in front of the freeway on-ramps into the city, but it's probably more in the neighborhood of 425 to 435. And we have a tremendous issue within the city with transients, homelessness, right? It's not a crime, but who do people call? The council wants you to call 311 for certain things, but at the end of the day, who do you call? You call the police department. When your children won't eat their Cheerios, when they are disrespectful to you, when they won't do their homework, when your boyfriend comes home and he's drunk, you call the cops, okay? The contract that we did with the city, this partnership sharing piece, us taking a guaranteed zero. Anyone in here willing to go to their boss tomorrow and say, for the next 5 years, I'll take a 0% raise for the privilege of working here? We did, just like you did. We said we will take a guaranteed zero for the privilege of working here, because we want to make sure that you can continue to add staffing and police officers to safely police the city. You need equipment, much like the fire department needs equipment. You can't get to these things on foot, you have to go buy a car. We used to buy, 20 years ago, we would buy 32 marked cars every year, 4 motorcycles, and 20 unmarked cars. That has not been in the budget since Brad Hudson was here. Those were eliminated, and we bought them at asset forfeiture. So at the end of the day, the short story is, does the tax measure impact the city employees from the standpoint of hinging it, as you said, as a business? If we do well, they do well. Yes, that's a very small piece of it. If you want to get in the car with me on Saturday night, we'll drive 25 miles to the east, and I'll take you to Foothill, I'll take you to Baseline, I'll take you to 4th Street, and we'll look at the crime, and we'll look at the closed businesses, and we'll look at the broken windows, and the graffiti, and the hookers, and the pimps, and the gang members, and I'll ask you which corner you want to be dropped off at, and I'll pick you up in 10 minutes. I'm not saying we're San Bernardino, but I'm telling you, if you look at how the city of San Bernardino collapsed, it was because there was no infrastructure. There was no revenue that was coming in order to do that. And as those things go, there goes the crime, okay? Everyone in here, whether you love cops or you hate them, this city has been historically tremendously supportive of their police department. And I, for one, appreciate that, and the members I serve appreciate that as well. So you're doing the right thing by supporting your police officers and your city as well. But what you need to understand is we can only do so much. If there's not the resources available to go out and handle the calls for service, to respond for you in a timely manner, things can get really out of whack, okay? So, like Tim said, who's going to hold the city accountable for the money for the tax increase? I'm a citizen that lives in Ward 5, and I have for, like I said, 18 years. We're going to be holding the city accountable to that money. Because without the tax revenue, I don't see how you're going to have equipment, code compliance, police officers, firefighters. It's just, at the end of the day, 90% of the city's budget is personnel costs, salary and benefits. The only way if you continue to cut, what do you lose? You have to lose personnel. We are one of the only groups in the city, with this last go around with cuts, the 4%, we gave up 17 police officer positions, 5 sergeant positions, and 3 detective positions. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take 5 sergeants out of the rotation of 50, that's a 10% reduction. And those of you that were here in 1998 and remember the Taisha Miller incident, one of the things that the Department of Justice came in and said, they said what you needed was training, supervision, right, and accountability. So it's kind of where we're at. So I understand, Jason, what you're saying, absolutely. I will be happy to, I'm going to be at the 12th, I think it is.
Yes, the 12th of Monday.
So would you be willing to give up what I consider to be the reverse incentive of having the partnership compensation model include new revenue streams in the form of new taxes like Measure Z? Because if it's truly based upon the city growing from a green grassroots thing and everyone's doing better, I'm okay with that. But once you start saying all new tax revenue that comes in from passing a new measure also gets thrown into the partnership compensation model, that's where the perverse incentive is created, and you're pitting the general public against our public safety.
If you look at the proposal for our MOU with the city, what you will find is absolutely zero reference in that agreement to Measure Z. What our agreement is the city does well through their 4 basic food groups, if you will: hotel occupancy tax, user utility tax, sales tax, and property tax, which is what they rely on and build the general budget with now. If they get an increase, we're asking for 50% of the reasonable BRI. So it doesn't say anywhere in there that Measure Z is a requirement for this to happen. That's why we have guaranteed zeros for 5 years. If the city does not do well, if Measure Z does not pass, we have more problems than police officer salaries and benefits. We have a problem of putting police officers on the street because they're going to have to cut more.
Let me say one way.
Okay, ooh, this one's louder, sorry. Okay, one thing on that. So the way this thing is built, it zero sums out every year. So what happens is every time there's an increase in revenue, that's the new zero. It doesn't start from year 1. So let's say there's an 8%, or we'll go to 10%. Let's say the sales tax passes. There's a 10% bid. Okay, so there's a 5% right there. The next year, that's the new zero. Okay, so that revenue could stay static for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Those are all the zeros. In our case, it's a 2% minimum, but we're giving back more into pensions. So even though you talk about the Measure Z being tied to a point, it isn't automatic every year because the zero is not in 2016 dollars. The new zero is reset every year. 2016, 2017, 2018. So if it drops a year, there's the new zero. If it goes up another 20%, that's the new zero, and you can pretty much figure it's going to be zeros the rest of the time because it's not going to go up 20%. I think we'll be lucky if it goes up 10. But yes, 1 year of Measure Z, there could potentially be a hit, a jump, but after that, that's the new baseline. And the new baseline resets every year. So I want to make that clear. It's not like the zero is on year 1 and we take advantage of it year over year over year. It resets at zero every year. Does that make sense?
All those things that people said we don't want.
Thanks a bunch. I just want to let everybody know, Kevin, just a second. I just want to let everybody know, we'll give Kevin the last one. He gets the last, no more. Because we have to get out and we're actually beyond time. Got to get staff home to their families and also shut down Janet Goski Center. But if any of you misunderstood as far as how this format was going to be, this was to tie you into the city with city services. If you'd like another meeting and you just want to talk, that's great too. We'll have staff on hand and they can answer your questions. So let me know with your emails. Hopefully you've connected. We've got the MENA, this thing's loud. They've got the MENA cards, if you could take them, that talks about the meetings. Please take my card. Please take that agenda with you because it's got some of the contacts on the back, especially mine, so that you can call me, talk to me. I'm on the email, and Kevin. And
Measure Z wasn't just about police and fire. The city manager said the night that the council approved Measure Z that the minute it passes, they intend to bond against it. That means borrow money in the bond market. What are they going to do with it? They talk about a detention center. They talk about the new library, the Discovery Cube. The Discovery Cube in the main library. The day that went to the council at the afternoon meeting, the council got bad financial news. They were told by staff that the deficit had grown beyond the $5 million that they'd initially been told. It had grown to $9 million. And that there was all this unbudgeted maintenance that needed to be done. So with this bad financial news, what did the council do that night? They approved a $55 million project to build a new library downtown and to move the Discovery Cube to Riverside. And they did not discuss how they were going to finance it at all. And so now we see how they're going to finance it. They're going to do it with this general tax that they're unaccountable. It's money that goes into the general fund. They can spend however they want, and they're going to bypass us. The night of the library, there was 88 speaker cards. There was a petition signed by 800 people said, don't move the library. Just fix it up. Don't build a new one. Don't bring the Discovery Cube in. We had UCR professors who said the Discovery Cube is not a good fit for Riverside. And our council approved it anyway. They ignored all the people that spent their time, came down to the council meeting and said, don't do this. So Measure C, it's a slush fund. If you're just trying to restore the cuts, they didn't even consider a 0.25% sales tax, which would have brought them in $13 million, which would have closed the gap and given them a little bit of extra money. No, they're going for a full 1%, which is $50 million a year, and that will grow each year over 20. You're talking about $1 billion to $2 billion over the entire 20 years. I say vote no on Measure Z. Force the council to come back and be more reasonable on the finances. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Without a microphone.
Not loud enough. I can't do that anymore. I used to be able to.